go then, it's Matchday live here on A.F.C TV as Leicester City travel to the Vitality Stadium to face Bournemouth on the south coast. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff. That means, of course, we're an hour away, so we've got plenty to get through here on Matchday Live. Before we get to any of that, though, let's get all of today's team news with our commentator, James Fielden.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is the most perfect day here on the south coast. The sun is shining, barely a cloud in the sky. Everyone's feeling like summer has come again. Hopefully Leicester can get themselves a win again. In terms of their team news today, 2 changes. One of the changes we expected is Bournemouth Soumaré comes in for the injured Wilfred Ndidi. He's missing for a few weeks with a hamstring injury. Patson Daka also in for Jamie Vardy, who drops to the bench. So Leicester line up with Ward in goal, Castagna, Evans, Faes and Justin the back 4. Soumaré, Tielemans and Dewsbury Hall in the middle of midfield. Maddison in sparkling form right now, playing with Harvey Barnes either side of Patson Daka. For Bournemouth, they also make 2 changes, and news around the stadium this lunchtime that their takeover has been completed, so it'll be interesting to see whether that lifts everyone round here. But in terms of the team they're playing today, Jordan Zamora and keeper Moore make way for Ryan Fredericks, who comes back from a knock that's kept him out of the last 2 games, and Ryan Christie, who comes into the 11 as well. Neto, the Brazilian, is their goalkeeper. Smith, Mepham, Senesi and Fredericks the back 4. Lerma and Cook in midfield, with Christie, we think, just ahead. Tavernier and Billing either side of Solanke, who starts up front. But for Leicester City today, Soumaré and Daka come into the 11.
Thank you very much, James. James will be live again at the Vitality Stadium just before kick-off alongside Matt Elliott on co-commentary. Yes, welcome along to Matchday Live here as Leicester City are looking to make it 2 wins from 2 following that first victory of the season over Nottingham Forest here at King Power Stadium on Monday. Alongside me, Dan Bates, in the studio today is Leicester legend Steve Walsh. Walshy, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Batesy.
Jerry Taggart as well, who joins us via Zoom. Jerry, firstly, obviously, feels like not seen you in a while, have we? It's been the international break, then you weren't here on Monday, and you missed Leicester's first win of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I was helping raising some money for charity, a good charitable cause. So yeah, unfortunately, I missed the game. First result, first win of the season, first clean sheet of the season. Massive game, obviously, against Nottingham Forest. And you know, a win when we needed it most. The pressure right on everybody involved at the football club. And even though where I was in the world, it was quite hot, I was sweating more in the lead up to the game. And thankfully, after, you know, the result came in, I think everyone just gave a big ceremony. So yeah, great performance and obviously a great result.
Walsh, you never miss a home game, do you? So you were here obviously on Monday for that, and it was fantastic. It was very much needed as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was vital that we won, especially against your rivals, which we all know. It was a real nervous kind of atmosphere in my room and everywhere I went, you know, before the game, and obviously because of the position we're in. So it was a great boost for the club, and I'm really happy. You know, a lot of people slept well this week, and we can get back to, hopefully, you know, looking at the fixtures we've got. There's some points to be earned here if we do the same things, you know, because we certainly showed that extra bit of class. And I'm very cautious at the moment, just with how things are, and we'll see. But let's not get carried away with this. It'd be nice now, back-to-back wins, and beat Bournemouth today, and it'll be a big test today.
Yes, absolutely. That is what Brendan Rodgers and Leicester City will be targeting today. It is of course, back-to-back victories. First against Nottingham Forest, hopefully today against Bournemouth. We've got plenty to get through here on Matchday Live this afternoon as we build up to kick-off. We'll take a look at James Maddison, who scored his 50th goal for the club. We'll take a look, of course, at that game with Forest and the best of the action from Monday evening, and we'll also hear from new defender Wout Faes, who's been talking about settling in at the club and of course getting that first victory of the season and first clean sheet as well of the season in the Premier League. Before we go any further though, as we've just seen there, James Maddison scored his 49th and 50th goals for the club in that victory over Forest on Monday. Let's take a look back at some of the best bits from the Leicester number 10.
Box, Ricardo taken out. Maddison scores! He's off the mark at King Power Stadium. Right footed, it's above the wall and it's into the top corner from James Maddison.
Here's Maddison in a shooting position, 25 yards out. James Maddison!
And feeds it to Maddison. James Maddison took a deflection, it's into the back of the net. And it's James Maddison.
Here goes Maddison! Oh, there's magic in that right boot.
What a goal.
James Maddison!
Maddison, oh he has! It is absolutely magical from Maddison.
Maddison is there and scrambles it home. First European goal of the season, James Maddison.
Who's inside the box now, a few step overs. Maddison curling one towards the far corner. Sensational third goal.
Body beats one, puts it back to Maddison who scores. Electric Leicester City counter-attack.
It's ricocheted back to Maddison, it's set up nicely. Oh, brilliant! James Maddison.
Put it back for Maddison who has scored. James Maddison fires it beyond the goalkeeper.
It's James Maddison, right footed! Listen to the noise! Leicester's third against their East Midlands rival.
Yeah, an absolutely brilliant video that, highlighting James Maddison, some of his best and some of his most important of his 50 goals for Leicester City. And you look back at that, Jerry, at just some of those. Of the 50, there won't be many that aren't really good goals, if you know what I mean. He scores so many spectacular goals for the club.
Yeah, I think obviously it just showed a clip of his first European goal, which was a bit of a scrappy goal. But you're right in saying that, invariably, the goals that he scores are quite spectacular. There's free kicks, shots from the edge of the box, shots where he's running onto shots where he's having to manufacture space, putting it from one foot onto his so-called weaker left foot, and the outcome's still the same, where he's able to get that precision even with his left foot. When the opposition defenders are probably being told to show him onto his left foot, if he's going to have a shot, show him onto his left foot because that's his weaker foot. The result has still been the same. So yeah, quite incredible career he's had so far for Leicester.
He's a very special player, Walshy, isn't he? Clearly, James Maddison, he's in potentially the form of his life at the moment, maybe coming at the right time with that World Cup in the winter, of course. But yeah, I mean, when he had that free kick against Forest on Monday, you almost knew that it was at least going to hit the target, had a really good chance of going in. That's how good he is at those.
He's a class act. He was on fire on Monday, and his performance levels, I noticed him from the start of the season. He looks so fit, this season, and not quite hit the mark early on, but he's certainly now. He looks different class. He's on a different level to a lot of the players, and you've got to think that he's going to be the player that's going to get the most goals this season if we can play him right, protect him right, as well, because obviously he's a player that teams are going to want to stop, and there's a lot of fouls committed on him, so he's got to be careful what he goes into, but he's got to be protected right, and he's also got to have the right players around him, and you can almost let him play anywhere, and I'm not too bothered about him not tracking back and doing that and going into tackles. He's not that kind of player. You've got Kieran Dewsbury Hall who covers so much ground and work ethic around him that he doesn't need to do that. He's still got to do it for the team, don't get me wrong, but
it's as close to a free roll as you'll get.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've just got to give him the ball, let him play. He's got every skill that can upset defenders. He's got every type of finish. So I expect him to be, double figures and be our top goal scorer this season. So yeah, let's feed him, get him the ball, and when a player's like that, I met him at the PDC, the darts on Tuesday night, because he likes his darts, and I went to have a photograph with him and spoke to him. He's he's a great kid. He's got time out for anybody, and yeah, he's at the top of his game at the moment.
Yeah, Walsh is saying just basically give him the ball, Jerry, and that's a pretty good tactic, particularly at the moment. When you look at James Maddison's form at the moment that he's shown from the end of last season, obviously then at the start of this one, he's absolutely on fire at the moment, and the numbers do that justice.
Yeah, I think, obviously we watched the pre-season games, and you know, I did the commentary away at Preston, and I was really, really impressed with the tempo he was playing in, and he's just carried that on. You know, simple as that. And when you're looking for results, that as obviously Leicester have been, and he has been the shining light in what has been a pretty gloomy start to the season. I think it's 5 and 8 he scored, and he's got a couple of assists in there as well. Then sometimes you've got a player, a go-to player that you have to rely on, and he is the guy that you can rely on with that creative side as well as that finishing side. So he's got 2 strings to his bow there now. 2 very, very important strings to his bow. Yes, he was brought in to score goals, but I would say mainly was brought in for his creativity, and then add to his goals to get the double figures. But now you're seeing James Maddison, you know, as Walshy has just said, looking likely again to finish, you know, top goal scorer. For an attacking midfielder, that's pretty impressive, considering the firepower what Leicester has in the front line.
Yeah, he's entering into his 5th season with Leicester City, so to get 50 goals from midfield is obviously very impressive. Let's hear now from his manager, Brendan Rodgers, who's been speaking about the number 10 and about how he's maturing into a very important player for this side.
He talks the game so well because he has a passion for it and a love for it. But he's definitely a very, very respected voice within the squad. One for our younger players. You know, they've seen him come through. He's a boy from the Midlands. They've seen his career develop, and they see what a top player he is. So they have a huge respect for him. And because of James's personality, I can imagine when he was 16, 17, he would have no fear going in among senior professionals, and being a voice then. So he's exactly the same now. He sees the game really, really well. He calls the game really well, and like I said, that he's a very, very important player for us on and off the pitch.
Intriguing, Jerry, what Brendan Rodgers had to say there about James Maddison. He was actually emphasising, wasn't he, off the pitch? We know how good James Maddison is on it. His stats and goals speak for themselves, but off the pitch, clearly, he's an important member of this squad.
Yeah, but again, Walshy's just touched on it. You know, when Walshy said he met him, he's taken time out to speak to Walshy. He obviously has that. I've spoken to him on a couple of occasions, and I know there's been things in the past that, you know, he's found himself on the wrong side of the press for whatever reason. But generally, when you speak to him, he's a very engaging young man. We've even had him in the studio once or twice, and he speaks very well about the game. So that was sort of lean to saying that his football intelligence is at a very, very high level. And Brendan Rodgers has sort of reiterated that in his interview, that when he comes off the pitch and he's in the dressing room, he sees the game. He knows how to work out the game, and he's, you know, giving advice to the other players in the dressing room about, you know, give me the ball in this area, or I'm going to run into this area of the pitch. Can you find me with a pass or stuff like that there? So yeah, it seems like he has a very high intelligence of the game, and it comes across when you actually speak to him.
When you look, Walshy, at the breakdown of his 50 goals for the club, one thing that's particularly striking, of the 50 goals, 10 of them are from free kicks. There's 1 in every 5 goals that he scores is a free kick, which is incredibly impressive when you think about it. And again, in this graphic, you can see he gets goals in no matter what competition it is. He'll just get goals for you, won't he?
Yeah, he will. He knows where to be, and you know, you can't coach that, but you can to a certain extent to where you need to be at the right time. But it's an instinct in a player, and to me, I'm not comparing him to Paul Gascoigne in any way, but he needs to be loved, if you know what I mean, and he needs to be the top dog at the. And he's quite an eccentric person, I feel, in a way of he's got to be number one, you know. And when he is, that's how he performs at his level. I remember Gazza, if he wasn't you loved, or if he weren't like, you know, up to his silly tricks and things. He wasn't happy. He was a bit hyper, was Gazza. Obviously, we see that, but he was at his best when he was doing these tricks, and you know, he was in, and he's the same as Maddison. But like you say, you look at the stats and you look at the goals. He's got everything. He can score from distance, and he can get in and get a 2-yard, you know, goal. He's got everything. You know, I don't see too many headers from him, but but he's a class act. He really is a class act, and you know, he's an important player for us. You know, without a doubt, this season especially, if we are to get out of this bit of a mess we're in, he's going to be key into the way that he plays and operates and the goals that he supplies.
Yeah, Walsh there talking about how James Maddison needs to be loved. Well, he was certainly feeling the love on Monday evening, wasn't he, here at King Power Stadium? And what a Monday evening it was as well. A fantastic victory over Nottingham Forest. With pleasure, let's take a look back at the best bits from that night.
23 years in the making with so much riding on it. Leicester City and Nottingham Forest sit side by side at the foot of the Premier League table, separated by 3 points. The 3 points tonight will mean so much more than local bragging rights. Ball back into the penalty area, goes one way and then the other, onto his right foot, Loddy left, grasping for air, and Dewsbury Hall's header is just wide. 6 yards out from the Leicester-born midfielder. The King Power Stadium fans were on their feet. They expected that to hit the back of the net. To Harvey Barnes on the left of the penalty area. Beyond Williams, tried a curling shot, was blocked by the Welshman. Comes back to Maddison, edge of the box. Deflected and in! It's James Maddison again! 4 goals in 7 games this season. This is the biggest. This is against the local rivals. To Barnes, edge of the box, onto his right foot, Harvey Barnes. Oh, that's fantastic! That is absolutely brilliant from Harvey Barnes. Leicester scored 2 goals in 60 seconds, and Nottingham Forest are left stunned here at King Power Stadium. It's James Maddison, right-footed! Listen to the noise, it tells you what Maddison has done. He's killed it beyond the wall and into the bottom right corner. His second of the evening, Leicester's third against their East Midlands rival. It's a huge goal in a huge game. Nice turn, Daka. Gave the Forest defenders the eyes and gives it to Maddison on the right. It's a ball driven in, Daka! Brilliant pass to Daka, the substitute. Maddison, this time the creator, busy one in right-footed, and it was slightly behind Daka, but he has skillfully, intelligently and brilliantly turned it beyond Dean Henderson. It's nestled into the bottom corner.
As we've already alluded to, Walsh, you were here obviously on Monday. What an atmosphere it was.
You know what? The fans played a massive part in that win. No, there's no doubt in my mind. It was an incredible atmosphere, and just reminded me of the good days, you know. And we've not had too many this season, but they were terrific goals that they all scored. A slight deflection for Maddison's the first one, the opener, but we did need that. We just said that, and you know, you look at it. His second, the free kick, the keeper's. Obviously, because Maddison's got a disguise and he can whip it into the other top corner with ease. So, and he's done that, and in games previous, and the keeper's thinking that's where he's going. You see, so he's just made one sidestep and he's lost his footing. That's it. You know, yeah. It's too late. It's in the back of the net, and you know, then that's where it's hard to read Maddison's free kicks because he's got that much, you know, bend on the ball. He's unbelievable technique. To see, and all 3-4 goals were terrific goals. Daka, the flick, you look at that and it was genius. It was brilliant to see. And you look at Barnes cutting in, and you know, but Forest were poor. Don't get me wrong. Did we make them that poor? I think we did, because we played very, very well. But they are in a bit of trouble. Looking at the outside, you know, looking in now at how they've performed, and they're right on. Obviously they're bottom of the league now. They've got the problems, but you know, it's all about us now going into this game. It's such an important. If their tempo's right and the you know, and you look at some of the games this season. You look at Man United, they weren't better than us. I thought, you know, we had a lot of possession. Tottenham first half, we dominated possession against them, and but we've conceded some terrible goals. But we have got a class. We've got a group of class players at this club, and it showed it against Forest. The difference you could see that they were still in the Championship in that game, but we made them look silly in areas. But they still could have had 3 goals, and that's the thing that I look at closely, is that even though they were that bad, they still could have had 3 goals and should have had.
Yeah, it was just a vital win to sum it up, Jerry, wasn't it? Really, as Walshy's been saying there. No, even if Forest weren't at their best, they certainly weren't. Leicester had to win the game they did, and that's all that mattered on Monday evening. It could have been 1-0 and really scrappy. It wouldn't have mattered. It happened to be 4-0 and fantastic.
Yeah, and I think, along with the 4 goals, keeping a clean sheet was a massive result as well. I think, for the confidence of the backline. Danny Ward has had his critics this season already. So especially for him, for him to keep a clean sheet. I know what you're saying, they've had a few chances, probably should have done better, but the fact that it didn't, moving on and going forward into this game, hopefully will be a massive confidence boost for the backline. I think when you look at the goals conceded this season, and that being the first clean sheet, Leicester have the worst goals against record in the league so far. When you look at the goals scored, they've scored 14, and Brighton, and that's level on Brighton in 4th spot. So that's why when I talk about that clean sheet, that first clean sheet being absolutely massive, because now they need to build on that and start, becoming a bit more solid and a bit more durable at the back, making it harder for teams to break them down. Because going forward, it's not an issue for them. As we've always said, it's an age-old problem. Last year it was conceding from set pieces, and again that sort of carried on. But easy, simple goals that are unavoidable, that could be sorted out. Thankfully, against Forest on Monday night, that was the case where they came off the pitch with a clean sheet. Now they've got to move forward with that newfound confidence into this game, because with the players going forward, that you've got a chance of scoring goals, but can you keep the back door locked and give yourself a chance of winning the game?
Yeah, that clean sheet was absolutely massive for the whole team, in particular the back 5, the goalkeeper and defenders, and one of those defenders is new man Wout Faes. And I sat down with him this week at Seagrave to talk about his first month at the club and, of course, that first clean sheet. Firstly, Wout, obviously you've been here around about a month now. How have you found your time here at Leicester City so far?
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I actually, when I came in, it was from the first moment. It was very, very familiar. Actually, the guys and the staff, they took me up like it was nothing. They integrated me in the group very well. And then after, I think I'm okay to do this. I can speak with everyone. The English is okay, so that helped also.
And you've had 2 games. They went a little bit differently, didn't they? But I think probably your personal performance in both the games you will have been pleased with, despite obviously in that first one conceding 6.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think we didn't play a bad game as a team either, but we got punished on a few mistakes. That's I think the highest level. But for me personally, I was quite happy with the first game. But then obviously when we needed the results and have it like Monday night, this was amazing.
Let's talk about Monday then, Wout, because that wasn't a bad home debut for you, was it?
No, in terms of personal game and then the result, I think it was a perfect night. Also for the fans, I think this was much needed. And then to be able to do this in a derby game, this was, I think, an incredible feeling.
And that was translated, of course, into the atmosphere that evening at King Power Stadium, something I'm sure that was pretty amazing for you on your first time there.
For me, of course, it was the first game at home, and then to see this atmosphere is I want to see it more. This is very nice, and for me as a player, this stimulates me even more to give 100%.
As a team, what has that done for you, that victory, and how's it been at training this week?
Yeah, you feel the confidence has come back straight away. I think what I've said, I think the games weren't bad that we played, but obviously you need the points. And then what I said, to be able to do this in a derby game in the way we did it with a 4-0 win, I think this has to give us the confidence back.
And you'll take that confidence, of course, into this weekend for that trip down to the south coast. What are you expecting from Bournemouth? What are you expecting in this game?
I think it's going to be an important game. You know, if we can add a win again, if we can have a win again, I think this can really be the kickstart of our season and make us look forward. I think that's the most important. And after that, I think in the game we just have to play our way of football like we always do it, and then I think we can have a good result.
It's a game against another of the newly promoted sides to the Premier League, but by no means it'll be easy. That they're unbeaten, they're on a good little run since changing their manager, so no game in the Premier League is easy.
No, that's it. That's why I love to be here also. Every game is like a top game, and you have to be 100% in every game, and that's what I like, and that's what the team have to bring also. But I'm sure we will be able to do this.
And not just aiming for the 3 points, but you as a defender obviously aiming for another clean sheet. Again, going back to Monday, that must give everybody such a boost, particularly defensively.
Yeah, of course. It's a teamwork, first of all, but then obviously when we were winning, I was always, when we scored another game, we were always with the defenders, come on, let's keep the 0, because for us that's quite important too, to have some confidence and build a streak in this team also. Why not?
Walsh, you were listening intently really to Wout Faes there, weren't you? He
speaks very well, good English.
Are you impressed with him?
I am impressed with him. Yeah. Similar to when Soyuncu arrived, you know, these players they both look terrific, you know, and he's got to understand that he's a defender. And he likes to be on the front foot. I like that. His distribution's very good. He likes to tackle firmly and fairly. You know, he's just got to be careful that sometimes if he dives in, it could be a problem. But he showed some very good early signs for me. The only one thing that I've seen is that sometimes he can try and. He wants to beat the team himself, and he'll go forward and advance with the ball, which you want. I mean, look at that tackle there; it's unbelievable.
You'd be proud of that.
Yeah, he reads the game very, very well. And what always got to be conditioned is, and listen, there's no saying that Soyuncu won't come back into this team, because he's not lost anything, but he just needs to go back to basics and defending. And when they do that, these players, they're terrific players. So just be careful. He doesn't play too high at times against certain teams this year. But there is times when you want to be on the front foot. But I like what I see. I like him. I like his tenacity. I like the way that he operates. And he's definitely a good signing for me at the moment. Yeah.
Do you agree, Jerry? I mean, you saw a few clips there from the Forest game. Bizarrely, he actually played really well on his debut away at Spurs. I know that sounds a little strange to say, considering Leicester conceded 6, but it wasn't that type of performance particularly from him. So he seems to have settled in very, very quickly, which is exactly what Leicester needed.
Yeah, I think, you know, as a centre half, you have to be trustworthy and you have to be reliable. So all the things Walshy's just, you know, spoken about, really, that all builds, you know, a sense of trust and durability within that back line and within the team, and obviously when the manager's picking the team. And slowly but surely, I've only seen him once, and that was a Tottenham game. I didn't see the game, but as I said, it was a clean sheet. So that's a good starting point for anybody, and he was obviously involved in keeping that clean sheet. So there you go. There's that element of trust building all the time between him and Johnny Evans, and obviously the fullbacks and the goalkeeper. His reading of the game very, very well. He looks aggressive, which obviously Walshy and myself will love, because it puts centre forwards off. Centre forwards don't like physical centre halves, and now you've got a guy who's come into the Leicester City squad. He's big, he's strong, he loves attacking the ball, he loves sliding in and making challenges. And again, Walshy's right. You know, he's got to make sure that he's timing those challenges, you know, to perfection more often than not. And as time goes on, we'll see whether or not that is the case. But definitely on first impressions, and on the little bit that I have seen of him, he brings that element of trust, that stability and durability into the team, where on any given occasion, at any given situation on a football pitch where he's called in to defend and help the team out, invariably he makes the right decisions and he does the right things to get his team out of trouble.
I'll tell you what, Jerry, I've got a feeling that our two centre-backs can handle Haaland. I've got a feeling they can.
Here we go.
And I've not seen anyone so far. I've just got a feeling that maybe we might have the right strength to handle him.
Yeah,
I really do.
We'll
but
find out
that's
at the
a
end
big
of
statement.
Yeah, it is. We'll find out at the end of October with that one, won't we, when Man City come here.
Yeah.
Let's concentrate on Bournemouth again. Wout Faes and Brendan Rodgers and everyone involved at Leicester will be hoping for another clean sheet, of course. Bournemouth actually haven't scored at home in their last 3 home games, so hopefully that run again continues today. Let's get the thoughts from the opposition camp and their lack of goals with Bournemouth Echo journalist Tom Crocker and, of course, their interim manager Gary O'Neill. Despite losing one of their games 9-0, this season has started relatively well for Bournemouth. Since the removal of Scott Parker as manager after that defeat at Anfield, the Cherries are unbeaten in their last 4 games, a record that interim manager Gary O'Neill says is down to the spirit at the club.
One of our big strengths, is that this club has always managed to find a way to fight against the odds, and most games at this level we're going to be underdogs, and that's fine from outside, but that's not what we believe in the changing room. We're always ready. We believe we can be competitive, and let Leicester come in here gives us another opportunity to hopefully show how strong and resilient we are defensively, but also to cause them problems.
One issue that these fans can label at their Bournemouth side is their lack of goals. In their 8 games, they've only scored 6, and more importantly, haven't scored a goal at home in over 2 months.
Firstly, I think 2 months to the day is very misleading because we had 1 home game called off. One was against Arsenal that is obviously going to be tough to score in and wasn't. Obviously, I wasn't taking the team at that point, so we failed to score against Wolves and Brentford at home, which is obviously is what it is. We'd like to score goals against Wolves and Brentford. We're working at it, but the boys have really brought something in the last few weeks that has given us a chance to be competitive in every game, and we hope to stay like that. And of course, we want to cause teams more problems than we have going forward, but but not at the expense of causing ourselves problems.
Then they don't flood forward and create loads of chances. It's very much pick their moments. When they do get forward, they do look quite dangerous. They're just not really getting the shots off. They're getting in and around the areas. And the final sort of bit it's been lacking a little bit. I think there are goals in the team. It's just Gary O'Neill very much has been, but it focused on sorting out the back first and making sure they are in the games to give themselves a chance, which I think is fair enough. I think if he was to stay longer term, they'd probably try and change that a little bit and try and be a bit more progressive. I think he's mentioned it in the last, especially after the Brentford game, he wasn't too pleased with how they played in that one because they didn't really create much at all. And he's very keen for them to, sort of show a bit more going forward. And I think that's been a bit of a focus this week. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that has sort of come to the fore when we see the game on Saturday. But he also was very keen to stress that he's not just going to throw everything at it and give up on the defensive side of the game. But I think they do need to show a bit more, especially in the home games.
Clearly a lack of goals, Jerry, for Bournemouth at the start of this season. Of their 6, 3 of them came away at Nottingham Forest in that comeback victory there. So what is that? That's 3 then in their other 7. So that might be an issue for them. So hopefully, fingers crossed for Leicester, that does continue today.
Well, this is why, going back to Monday night's performance and result and clean sheet, that it's imperative that they try and bring that form into today's game. I think Bournemouth's goal difference is -13, 6 goals in the league, and they've conceded 19. Where obviously Leicester have conceded 22 but scored 14. But somehow Bournemouth find themselves sort of lower mid-table on 9 points. So it tells me that if they can bring that clean sheet and that newfound confidence into today's game, then really Leicester are giving themselves a really good chance of winning this, because as I've already said, at the other end of the pitch, as we've seen, there's not really an issue in scoring goals. So it's all about the defences today for both teams.
Yeah, they're actually unbeaten in their last 4, which isn't bad, is it, for Bournemouth? They had that humbling at Anfield, didn't they? 9-0. Scott Parker went. They've got Gary O'Neill as an interim, and he's done okay. You look at that since that 9-0. But a lack of goals as with it.
Yeah, of course. But Gary O'Neill's it's important for him to get wins now as an interim manager. He wants that job. Don't you know? Let's face that he really wants that job, and they've announced some new American owners today. I listened to TalkSport, so things are going to change at that football club, and he'll be wanting to win this game first of all and show the owners that, you know, hang on a minute, I'm in the mix here. So, yeah, you look at it. They've had a couple of clean sheets on the way under Gary O'Neill. They're very organised, and they're building off a solid defence, which we've always done, and. It's going to be a close game, I think, today, and it's a game that, first of all, we don't want to lose, you know. But if we can go and win this and nick this, then yeah, we'll you know, that's the aim, is to win the game. But the least we can get is a point, you know, and it keeps the momentum going. So I wouldn't be too despondent if it was a draw, but 3 points would be a fantastic back-to-back wins and take us into a position where one more win and you're in the top half of the table. So it can soon change football, as we all know. But they've got some dangerous players, and we'll have to be careful today, will Leicester, and it'll be interesting to see where we are after this game.
If you're only just joining us here on Matchday Live on LCFC TV, then we can get a quick recap of all of today's team news for you. Leicester City, obviously, coming off the back of that fantastic win against Nottingham Forest on Monday, are hoping for 2 wins in 2, and they travel down to the south coast. They've had to make one enforced change, of course. Wilfred Ndidi, he's out with an injury. He's about for a couple of weeks, I think it'll be, with a hamstring injury. So he is out, and he's replaced by Bouba Soumaré, who did come off the bench, of course, against Forest to replace him. So this is how the Foxes line up. Danny Ward in goal, James Justin, Wout Faes, Johnny Evans and Timothy Castagna at the back 4. Then Soumaré, as I've mentioned, with Dewsbury Hall and Tielemans in front of him. Harvey Barnes and James Maddison support the other change, which is Patson Daka in for Jamie Vardy. And from a Bournemouth point of view, they line up with Neto in goal, Fredericks, Senesi, Mepham and Smith as the back 4. Lerma and Cook are the 2 holders, and then we think Christie, Billing and Tavernier supporting Dominic Solanke as their lone forward. Let's throw now to the Vitality Stadium, where we've got Matt Elliott, who is on co-commentary duty. He's been listening intently to us here on Matchday Live this afternoon. And firstly, what is it like down there? It looks like a glorious day, and also I guess spirits must be pretty high in and around Bournemouth with, as Walsh has mentioned, their new owner is in town, is he not, Matt?
Apparently so. I think that's the word is out, and I think there's certain boxes to be ticked and T's to be crossed. Is that the word, James?
Yes. I's dotted, T's crossed.
Dotted, that's the one. That's the combination I'm looking for. I'm still taken back by Walsh's comment about Leicester 2 centre-halves dealing with Erling Haaland. But,
well, someone has to, Matt.
Yeah, nothing like a bit of confidence, Walshy, that's all right. But, yeah, no, good news and a positive sense from Bournemouth's point of view. Yeah, I suppose, you know, they've timed that news to perfection, haven't they? You know, in the build-up to this game, and just speaking to supporters around here, they're not to say the jury's out, but they're not sort of wildly celebrating. But obviously, it's good news. I suppose the investment coming, the possibility, the prospects of a new stadium, whether it's on this site or nearby, we'll have to wait and see whether that unfolds. There's a little bit of scepticism whether Bournemouth, first and foremost, have got to maintain their status in the Premier League. If they were to drop down, as they have done on occasion, they're going to have issues filling any sizable stadiums. But that's for the future. Yeah, right now, I suppose it adds to the problem or the challenge that Leicester face today, because there will be a little bit of buoyancy from the home side, and on the back of 4, as you mentioned there, 4 games undefeated, 3 draws and a win. I think it is a mean record, you know, back in the Premier League, and they're faring slightly better than a lot of people would have predicted, weren't they? And I think Leicester, as good as the win was on Monday night, will be foolish to underestimate their opponents today.
Yeah, from a Leicester point of view, that the Blue Army will be travelling down to the south coast in a fairly buoyant mood, Matt, I think, obviously after that victory.
Yeah, of course, you know, hugely boosted confidence after that game on Monday. It just, you know, I wouldn't wouldn't say it came as a surprise. It really sort of reaffirmed to everyone what Leicester are capable of, and as the lads have mentioned, Leicester are not shy on the goals front, even this season, despite their low standings in the division. But there are issues to be addressed, and I still think, to a degree, even on the back of the Nottingham Forest game, there are still some of those issues remaining. As comfortable as it turned out, there were one or two moments in the game that perhaps a more efficient team would have capitalised on when Nottingham Forest didn't. It might have been a different scenario. I still think Leicester would have won the game regardless of when the one or two opportunities were executed, but I don't think they can afford to be certainly as open as they have been in most part of the season. But even on Monday night, not the Bournemouth are the most clinical, but I think they'll be a level above on the day compared to what Nottingham Forest was. Again, as the boys have mentioned, they were hugely disappointed from their point of view, and gratefully inept from Leicester's point of view. But yeah, nice setting down here, as you mentioned. Sun's out. Unfortunately, we're sat in the shade. We're not receiving the benefits, but the small stadium ensures that it's a sellout, so it will create a decent atmosphere. And the Leicester faithful are getting here pretty early, sort of half full over there, but I'm sure they'll pack their requirement, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. We'll hear from you again. Just before kick-off, let's go from Matt Elliott now to Brendan Rodgers, the Leicester City manager. He's been speaking, of course, ahead of this game against Bournemouth, and of course, that win against Nottingham Forest was brought up.
Listen, if you can keep a clean sheet, then great. That's always the mantra going into any game and any team. You want to fundamentally be strong defensively, but it's always both sides of the game in order to win. Our objective is to win the game, and you can win a game and maybe not have a clean sheet, but if you can win the game, then that's what you want to do. So if a clean sheet comes with that, then it's important. But I think we've seen the other night how connected the team were, both with and without the ball, and that's a standard that we need to maintain.
And I guess nobody needs to tell you that result the other night will mean so much more if you can then back it up in the succeeding games, starting with this one.
Yeah, I said before Monday night's game that we had a real challenging fixture list at a difficult time, but this run of games now between now and the break before the World Cup gives us a chance to accumulate points, and it's an opportunity where very quickly you can find yourself in the middle of the table. So, but it's just each game. We put a big focus into Monday's game. It's the same now. We prepare, put our plan together. Players have got a real bounce now, and the fluency and everything looks really, really good. So we need to now take that energy, that mentality into our next game, and that's the focus.
How do you go about improving the away form?
Well, we're hoping that the performance on Monday night will help galvanise that. There's no doubt our form in general hasn't been good enough this season, but we feel the change in mood now, so we go there with a real determination. We know it'll be a hard game against Bournemouth. Obviously, guys come in there in a short period of time. They've really sort of closed the pitch up, not having the ball so much, but looking to contain but I still know they have quality. So for us, we need to go there now and play our game. I think that's important for us to play the football that we know that will get us results, home and away, and we look to see if we can win after winning, which I've always said is important.
You mentioned there Monday's win. Have you seen an extra bounce in training this week, extra smiles?
Yeah, well, I said before the game, I think it was a season-changing game that could change the mood really for the team and the supporters, and I've definitely sensed that there's no doubt. It was not just the manner and the result, but of course the performance level. And I think what we've seen more is that connection between the players and the supporters back again, because it's such a big game in the region, and the supporters certainly would have felt vibrant after the game and seeing the energy in the team.
Hopefully there'll be the same vibrancy and energy, of course, at full time down at Bournemouth. Jerry, we've only got time for a very quick score prediction from the both of you, so we'll start with you first, please.
I'll go 2-1 to Leicester.
2-1, Vardy coming off the bench, 90 plus 5 minutes, and it's a winner.
I like it, Walshy. I like it. Those travelling fans will be absolutely buzzing with that, I'm sure, won't they? Yes, coming up, we've got full match commentary, of course, of the game with Bournemouth on the South Coast, with Leicester City looking to make it 2 wins from 2, of course. So stay tuned. After this short little break, we've got full commentary with James Fielden and Matt Elliott.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Lamiat is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance, where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Lamiat philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Hello, good afternoon everyone, and welcome along to Vitality Stadium here in Dorset. We're a long way from home here on the South Coast for another big game in the bright sunshine in the Premier League as A.F.C. Bournemouth host Leicester City. Building up to kick-off here, we are 11 minutes away from the off. The Leicester players long since moved back inside to go through their final preparations. Some of the Bournemouth subs still out here at the moment, soaking up the late vitamin D in the autumn. After those 6 straight defeats and 7 winless games to start the season, the first win finally came at the start of the week for Leicester with that 4-0 demolition of Nottingham Forest, and Brendan Rodgers knows his side need to back it up here at the home of another of the promoted sides from last season. Leicester remain the only side in the league yet to win a point away from home this season, as they chase a first win away from home since beating Watford 5-1 at the end of last season. Foxes fans aren't here in their usual numbers, so that's not their fault, mainly due to the size of the stadium down here that the hosts are hoping they'll be able to build on in the future. The side need the support of those fans that are here, around 1,300 of them for this one today, if the run away from home is to end this afternoon. Bournemouth sit in 13th place after 2 wins so far, but they have already dispensed of their coach that got them to the Premier League against Scott Parker. Gary O'Neill is the man in temporary charge at the moment, presumably until the results drop off or a suitable replacement is found. Takeover talk has been rumbling on in the last few weeks, but it seems like now that has been completed. Our colleagues at Talk Sport this afternoon saying that Maxim Demin, the owner, has now sold it to the American Bill Foley, who also owns the NHL side, the Vegas Golden Knights. He is expected to be here today. We'll see if that has any impact. All the photographers aiming their lenses at the director's box. On the pitch at least, they've stopped conceding since that 9-0 demolition at Liverpool, and were last in action here last weekend as they played out a 0-0 draw with Brentford. Unbeaten in 4 overall, with a win at Forest in that run at the start of last month. Let's take you through the team, starting with our host Bournemouth. 2 changes, out go Jordan Zamora and keeper Moore the striker. Ryan Fredericks comes back in having recovered from injury, and Ryan Christie as well. They line up with Neto in goal, Adam Smith the captain at right back, Mep, Senesi and Fredericks at left back, Lerma and Cook in midfield, Tavernier, Christie and Billing all supporting Solanke in attack. Leicester make 2 changes as well, and Didi out with a hamstring injury. He's going to be missing the next couple. Bubu Samare comes in for him, like-for-like change, and like-for-like up front as well, as Patson Daka replaces Jamie Vardy. Danny Ward the goalkeeper, Castagna, Evans, Faes and just in the back 4, Sumare, Tielemans and Dewsbury Hall in midfield, Maddison, Daka and Barnes across the front here at the Vitality Stadium. Delighted to say alongside me is former Leicester City stalwart at the back, Matt Elliott. Matt, it is a fantastic day down here, isn't it? They've been pumping up the tunes ahead of kick-off. It might be a small little ground, but good atmosphere.
Oh, that's right, by some distance the smallest in terms of size and capacity in the Premier League, but they're pretty vocal, aren't they? And they're buoyed even more so with the news of the new ownership coming into play. So a lot of positivity in and around this Vitality Stadium for Leicester to deal with. Adds to the challenge, doesn't it? But one that they're capable of overcoming, I feel.
I don't know if you were here. I was certainly for the last time they played here. Leicester taking the lead through Jamie Vardy, but a second half collapse, and that's the only way it can be described. Saw them lose 4-1. Soyuncu got sent off in that game as well. But a different game, a different day, similar weather conditions, but Leicester with a very strong side out there, barring the obvious people who are missing at the moment, and Sumare I think has proven in recent times that he's able to step into that.
Yeah, well, I think that game that you're referring to sort of sums things up on how you need to approach the game, or in that case, how not to approach the game when you come down here to the Vitality Stadium. They're awkward opposition, Bournemouth, aren't they? And on paper, you look at the 2 teams, and even with Leicester having the form that they've had so far this season, the Notts Forest game aside, the better quality is with the visitors, but we know it doesn't always pan out that way. But if you take your eye off the ball, you're not quite focused enough, and get a little bit sloppy, Bournemouth are the sort of team will make you pay for that. If you're on your mettle, in your discipline, and you play to your potential, more often than not, certainly teams in the top half of the Premier League will get a result against Bournemouth, whether it's home or away. But they're waiting for that little chink in your armour, and if you're a little bit off the pace, a little bit off the boil, you can come unstuck, and Leicester need to be very, very careful of that. I'm sure they won't be. I like to think they won't be. Off the back of that one excellent performance against Forest, got to go and back it up. That's what we're hearing all week. They didn't. They weren't committed, folks, in that game that you're talking about, saw the consequences, which effectively ended Leicester's chances of getting in the top 4 that year for the Champions League push. So a lot to play for today.
Just seeing the players line up in the tunnel beneath us here. The other point as well, and it's been spoken about so much over the last 18 months or so, is Leicester's sometimes fragility at set plays, and Bournemouth certainly have height, don't they? One of the tallest players in the league in Philip Billing. You've got the likes of Solanke, Lerma, Senesi, Mepham. They've got threats, and Leicester are going to have to be strong at the back when defending those kind of situations, especially on a tight field.
Well, that's something that Bournemouth, without doubt, are going to look to exploit. I'm not sure Leicester have eradicated all their issues.
I should just say, on top of that, half of Bournemouth's goals this season have been from set plays.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, Leicester will be aware of that as well. And they'll be doubly determined to try and stave off that threat from Bournemouth. But you could see there was a sort of an extra determination against Forest. I think a couple of times early on there were 2 corners that had to be defended, and they were really robust and aggressive in that. We'll see more of it today.
Off the back of the resounding win against Nottingham Forest, it's another promoted side in A.F.C. Bournemouth that provide the opposition this afternoon. The Foxes, after a first Premier League point of the season away from home, looking for a first victory away from King Power in 5 months. Well, the new man is in town for Bournemouth today, the American Bill Foley taking his seat in the stadium. The home fans certainly excited about seeing him. Leicester City have a job to do as they emerge here in their change kit of white and gold this afternoon. They line up in front of the Leicester fans on the far side, who are packed into the tight and contained away end on the far side of the field. It's another Premier League match day. It's a glorious day as well here down in Dorset as Bournemouth take on Leicester City. A recap of that team news for you. Leicester lining up with Ward in goal, Castagna, Evans, Faes and Justin, Soumare, Tielemans and Dewsbury Hall, Maddison, Daka and Barnes. Another opportunity for Patson Daka. We spoke about it in the build-up. What are you seeing from him compared to Jamie Vardy at the moment?
Well, there's similarities, aren't there, in their natural style of play. Daka's got quite a lot of ground to make up, and in terms of Jamie Vardy's stature, not just at Leicester City, in the Premier League in general, but he's a work in progress, Daka, isn't he? And I think without doubt he can finish. We've seen quite an array of finishes from him, particularly good when he's bearing down on goal, as is Jamie Vardy. But he's a natural finisher. He brings that element to Leicester's play, but he's just interesting to see his hold-up play needs improvement. His variety and his timing of runs at times does, but Brendan Rodgers obviously got quite a bit of faith in him. Ironically, I thought it was Jamie Vardy's best game against Forest, and I wouldn't see it necessarily as being dropped, but it's not quite being rested either, is it? It's somewhere in between. But they are managing his times, his minutes. Jamie Vardy, rightly so. We're yet to see the best of him this season. Hopefully that will click into gear at some stage, but Daka, plenty of faith being shown in him, and sooner or later that has to be the case.
Just to run through the 2 benches for you today, starting with Bournemouth. Mark Travers, the sub-goalkeeper, Jack Stevens, Emiliano Moncondes, Jack Stacey, Jamal Lowe, Siriki Dembele, Kiefer Moore, Jaden Anthony and Jordan Zamora. While for Leicester, Daniel Everson, the sub-goalkeeper, Jamie Vardy, Marco Brighton, Kelechi Iheanacho, Iose Perez, Daniel Amate, Dennis Pratt, Luke Thomas, and an opportunity for Sammy Braybrook as well, the 18-year-old on the bench, having been in international action with England during the break in the last few weeks or so. Question is, can Leicester start on the road quickly as they have done in their last 2 games, scoring inside 60 seconds at Brighton, inside 6 minutes at Tottenham. Of course, both of those games ended in heavy defeats. So we're hoping today they can certainly keep it tight at the back. The referee for this one this afternoon is Michael Salisbury, one of the newly promoted officials at the start of the season from the EFL group. And we are just about ready to get going. Leicester City attacking the goal away to our left here, the Steve Fletcher stand, named after their former striker. And the Bournemouth fans trying to make some noise ahead of kick-off here. Ahead of kick-off, both sides take a knee as part of the Premier League's No Room for Racism campaign that is running over the next couple of match days. And Leicester kick off here at the Vitality Stadium, chasing Brentford, who get us underway. And it's a long ball forward straight away as the Cherries look to make a quick start, but they pick it up in midfield now through Jefferson Lerma. Back to Chris Mepham at the back, who places to the right-hand side to Fredericks, who helps it down the line. It is out of play though, and it's a Bournemouth throw. Gary O'Neill, the man in charge of them right now. Wout Faes with a header away, trying to help it on is Keenan Dewsbury Hall. And Matt Elliott, in terms of how Leicester are set up today, looks like Dewsbury Hall just playing ahead of Soumare and Tielemans, as we might have expected.
Yeah, it's a regular setup, isn't it? Pretty much it's like a 4-1, if you like, 4-3-3. Soumare at the base of the midfield and taking over Ndidi's role.